How do you get your boss to set boundaries with customers who continuously cross the line? Well, that's exactly what this caller was dealing with, and I give him some tips on addressing the issue. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel to hear me coach more live callers just like this one. Steve, welcome to the show. How can I help you?
I'm working in a big box hardware store, and I'm always having an issue there, and nobody can seem to help me. I need to
Hmm.
know the best way to handle a regular customer who is always angry about something. Whenever he comes into the store, he'll find something, come to me, and just complain and complain and complain, and just be very, very aggressive and angry.
Do you have an example of like the last time he came in and was aggressive or angry about something?
Oh yeah, it was terrible. Okay, so for instance, last time he came in, there were some fasteners that were in the wrong box. Somebody
Okay.
had mislabeled or put them
Yeah.
somewhere, and he went ballistic on me. It's sort of like, to the point of, are you so inept in this store that you don't know how to even sort properly? That we have customers need to go rifle through everything to find. I try to apologize to him, that shoppers do this stuff. They come in and they put stuff back in the wrong places. And this is just a good example. And it goes on and on. And he may go through the store and find like a half a dozen or a dozen things and say, come here, I want to show you this, Steve. And taking me away from other customers and from my tasks that the store pays me to do. And I'm trying to do the right thing by being polite, but I don't know what to do. I'm at a loss.
Does he have some mental health problems?
I really don't know the man that personally I would probably say yeah, the way he goes on and on and on.
I'm just curious if you can sense it from him getting so irate about kind of small things and he wants to point out a lot of stuff. I'm just wondering if he's got some mental health issue. Have you chatted with your manager or anybody about this individual, and do they have any thoughts about it?
Yeah, I actually went to human resources because I was concerned that if I said the wrong thing, I may lose my job.
Mm.
So I thought I'd ask them how to tackle it. And they said, don't worry about it. They just sort of brushed it off and said, just apologize and go on with your work. I said, but he keeps pulling me away from my work.
Yeah.
He says, do what you have to do. They weren't really specific.
If you interact with him and he's feeling like he's getting listened to from you, does he start to calm down? Does it seem like he just wants to get heard or listened to?
Yeah, when I start to try and talk to him, what I try to do is I apologize. And because he comes in almost every day, I try to deflect
Yeah.
and move to another topic, but he always seems to circle back to where we started.
Yeah. Are you a manager, or do you have a manager that's like a supervisor on the floor or something
I
like
have a
that?
manager on the floor I could call. Yeah.
Okay. The reason I'm asking these questions, typically when we find stores that don't have clear de-escalation policies and clear kind of policies around what happens when some customer gets escalated, this can tend to get very frustrating for employees, for frontline workers. What's important to me in my experience just working with a bunch of frontline workers is that the store creates very clear boundaries. What is and isn't appropriate from our customers? At what point or what lines are drawn? At which point, if a customer crosses that line, it goes from a sort of de-escalation customer service situation into a, you know what, we have to ask the customer to leave the store, and it gets a little more serious. I'm curious if, number one, if the store has policies that are clear to you, and if they're not, maybe you should get them clear, because I think at some point there needs to be some conversation, especially with the manager, to say, listen, this individual is coming in every day. It's getting very frustrating for me. I'm feeling burnt out by it. It's taking energy away from other customers. We're going to have a conversation with this individual at some point very soon to tell him what our expectations and standards are for being a customer at this store. And if he can't abide by those expectations, then we're not going to allow him in the store until he's willing to abide by the expectations. And someone has to set a boundary with the individual if he's not willing to comply. Just curious if do you think that's a possible route here, to set a boundary, Yeah.
Yeah, doctor, I didn't try going to the manager. I went directly to human resources, hoping they would have some type of de escalation policy. And I was kind of taken back when they really didn't have one or didn't give me any insight. But I think going to the manager was going to be my next choice when he comes in, because human resources aren't always available. But the
Yeah.
store manager should be, or at least my department manager would be. And perhaps if I redirect it to that person, to that manager, at least he won't be bothering me anymore. I was trying to
Yeah.
deal with it as a good store employee, so I wouldn't
Yeah.
bother the manager with some trivial issue that could be handled by me or any store clerk, but I guess I can't handle it. So
You had good intentions, you had the right intention, but I do think that in order to avoid your own burnout and your own kind of compassion fatigue, customer service fatigue, it would be important at this point to let your manager know what's going on. When this is happening over and over with the same individual and he's not really getting the hint, it's probably going to be important for someone to set a boundary with him and tell him,
right.
This is what we expect from customers at the store. We're happy to help you. We want to help you. But if you come in here with XYZ, we're not going to be able to help you that day, and we're going to have to enforce that boundary. Your manager has to know what's going on so he can step in and hopefully protect you and be a buffer at this point for you.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So one last question on that, though, doctor, is if I go to my manager and his resolve is, I don't have time for this, that's up to you to take care of it. Should I then just turn around and go back to human resources and say I went to my manager and he doesn't want to deal with it? He's giving it to me to deal with? I'm not a manager. I shouldn't have to deal with it, I wouldn't think.
I wouldn't think so either. I hope he doesn't react that way. However, if he were to respond that way, what I might then say is, okay, just to be clear, you're giving me the authority to set a boundary with this customer. Is that right? So if he doesn't want to do, okay, sure, fine, set a boundary. Okay. And then you can be the person to set a boundary. You can go up to him and say, listen, I want to help you. I like when you come in. You're a good customer, or whatever it is, however you want to start with some positive. And you can say, but here's the thing. We have some standards. We have some expectations around how people are going to interact with us here. And we've got to set a boundary. And the next time, this happens, I'll let you know that you're crossing that boundary. And I'm not going to be able to help you if you start, yelling, or if you start getting too angry. I'm just not going to be able to help you. I got to set that boundary with you.
But doctor, what if I don't feel comfortable in that situation because I feel it's really not my position? And it could also be a situation where if I do the wrong thing, even though I was given permission by the manager, I could still lose my job, because if I set the wrong boundary and they come back to me and say, hey, we didn't tell you to do that, but you never gave me any direction. They say, well, that doesn't matter. You should have thought that out more, or come back to us or something. We can't use you. I don't want to get into that situation either. So I'm really not comfortable. I'm not in a position of authority. I'm not a supervisor. I'm just a old guy working in a big box store.
So if you don't feel comfortable, if that's your concern, then don't do that. And so let's just hope your manager responds in an effective way. Maybe if your manager says it's up to you and you respond back and say, listen, honestly, I don't feel comfortable interacting with this individual anymore. I'm telling you, I don't feel comfortable. I need help. I need support. If you say that and he still doesn't help you, then I think the next step would be, okay, well, listen, I'm letting you know that I'm going to go talk to the store manager, or I'm going to go talk to HR about this, because I don't feel comfortable and you don't seem to be able to want to support me. I'm going to have to go to someone else. That way you give him the plan, what you're going to do, and you're not going around him behind his back, but you're going to tell him you're going to get support.
Yeah, I don't want to blindside him at all. I want to be quite upfront. I'm not trying to harm anyone. It's just that this is becoming a real nuisance, and this customer, and it's just didn't know what to do, and I was at a loss, and I was just pulling out what hair I have left. It's like.
So okay, so just to be clear, we got step one is you're going to go talk to your department manager. If he rejects you in some way, you're going to let him know, hey, I really need support on this. If you're not able to help me, I'm going to go to the store manager or to HR to get their support.
I like it.
Okay.
I like it. I think it might work. That's great advice. Thank you so much, Doctor. I really appreciate that help today.
No problem. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate you coming on. Hey, thanks for tuning into the Peacebuilding with Dr. Pollack show. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more workplace conflict advice. Share on social media if you think your friends and colleagues would benefit from this episode. And if you have a workplace conflict and want to be a caller on our show for free coaching and advice, please email podcast@pollackpeacebuilding.com. Thanks.